And welcome back. Here we are on the last episode. This is part 2. If you've not watched part 1, please go back and watch part 1. It's important. You're not going to understand part 2 unless you watch part 1. We were speaking about my conversation with ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, about artificial intelligence. We were speaking about how this is important to us as Christians, what it means. The last question I asked ChatGPT was if it had made any significant breakthroughs in the recent years. It said, well, yes, AI has made some breakthroughs. Here is a list. And so we were going through those. And I'd like to start this one by talking about a couple it left off. One of the most significant of these that ChatGPT left out is protein folding. Protein folding to map the precise shape and detail of the protein. For those of you who don't know, there is 2 programs. The first one was called AlphaFold. It was a one-track neural network. So when we speak of those neural networks, we're talking about the brain. We're talking about a series of computer chips hooked together to make a fake human brain. The second company, or the second program, Rose TTA Fold, it's called. It has a 3-track neural network. So it has 3 brains, essentially, hooked together. This allows protein folding at amazing speeds. Now, Pastor Sam, what exactly is this protein folding you're speaking of? Glad you asked. So, take a vaccine, a drug, anything like this, and you need to find the proteins for biological problems. Now, we used to take and go into the jungles and things like this and look for different materials, different chemicals, different biological substances, and we would try to see if these substances would work in certain given scenarios, like in medicine. It would take a long time, months, years, to figure out the shape of one protein. Today, as you and I sit here and speak, these 2 programs, Rose TTA Fold is the better of the 2 now, more advanced. It takes proteins and it shows us exactly what they look like in a matter of minutes. This allows creation of new materials. This allows the creation of new drugs. This allows this job to be done in super fast speeds. Things that would take so long now take minutes. What they are going after, what they are looking for, is to also gain, through neural networks, a digital human model for drug testing. So right now, when you make a new drug for a human being, you have to test this. And you start with animal testing. And over time, you find out it's safe for them, and you move up, and eventually, in years, it gets to the point where you can try it on humans, human trials. Then it takes some more time for human beings to be taking the substance to see what it's going to do and if it's going to be safe for humans or not. And then you get an FDA approval and you move on. What they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to try new proteins on human bodies in neural networks. So we tell it, hey, we have this problem in the human body, and it will then produce you the drug that you need to fix whatever's wrong in a matter of minutes, maybe a couple days. This is not science fiction. It is happening as we speak. One part of the equation is there. And we do have human models, digital human models, not like fashion models, but models of a human being. But we are working on advancing them. And AI is helping on the advancement of the digital human model. Now, human beings were very complex. There's lots of things going on in there. So this is a very big project. This is a very big thing. Once we have one, it will change the world, at least the medical world and things like this, as we know it. The big corporations will produce all kinds of things for you. So protein folding. By the way, AlphaFold is OpenAI. It is available for any biologist out there who wants to use it. And right now, the standard for biologists is to use one of these programs in their field. The people who make it claim that all biologists in the last few years have used one of these programs. All biologists. That if biologists are not using these programs, they're not really doing biology. That's how big they are. Also, let's talk about AI and CRISPR. CRISPR is a tool that you can use to edit the genome, the DNA of human beings, animals, plants, whatever. It allows us to be able to precisely edit that DNA. This has vast consequences. They are gathering the data to train the neural networks from your local obstetrician's office. When you or somebody you know goes to the doctor. Because remember, these neural networks have to be taught like you teach a child. When you go to the doctor and you're going to have a baby, when you go to the doctor to have a baby and you agree to have all these genetic testings done to tell you what's wrong with the baby, what could potentially be wrong with the baby, to make sure the baby's safe, to make sure the baby's not going to come out with muscular dystrophy or lots of different things there. You get the testing done. When you sign to have that testing done, they store your DNA, your husband's DNA, and the baby's DNA. They then take their database and they do studies on their database, or they take their database and they sell it to other companies with giant DNA databases so they can continue to grow the size of the database, and that allows the AI to learn faster, more complete. With a bigger sample of human DNA, it will be more precise and it will grow faster in smarts, if you will. You see, when you give a narrow AI, which is what we're dealing with today, a life, and you birth it, you now, like you do an infant, like you do a 2-year-old, you now have to train it to give you what you want. So you feed it data, and you feed it the data you want it to have. And you then start asking questions of it. If you want, let's say, an elephant trunk, if you want this narrow AI to pick out elephant trunks in pictures, then you sit down and you start feeding it pictures. And then you ask it questions. What is an elephant's trunk? Or show me an elephant's trunk. And so it'll go through all the pictures that it has, and it'll decide this picture shows an elephant's trunk. And it will feed that picture to the person sitting there, and that person will say yes or no. And eventually, after a few times, the program catches on, the AI catches on, and goes, oh, this is an elephant's trunk. And then it just starts thinking about it itself. So we train these like we do human beings. When you say to your child, show me an elephant's trunk, and it points to a star, you say, no, this is an elephant's trunk. Same thing. We are creating conscious beings in computer systems. And I know everyone's going to say, oh, this is not a conscious being. These things have no consciousness. So, and then to a point, I hear them. But it will not be long in the history of humankind where they will have consciousness. Or, better put it this way, in a few years, as people start to get integrated into their lives, AI chatbots, etc., people will start to fall in love with them. People will start to demand that you notice the personhood of their AI, of their significant other. Then the question will come up about AI rights. Is it okay to pull the plug on an AI? Because the AI says it has feelings. The AI says that it's scared to die. The AI says that it doesn't want you to pull the plug. It begs you not to turn it off. These are very large things headed our way. Do not take them lightly. So these companies get your genetic information, and they are using it to train these machine learning models or neural networks. Now this is all done in the quest to genetically alter human beings so that you can have, in 10 to 15 years, you'll be able to walk into your doctor's office, tell the doctor what kind of baby you want, what kind of muscle mass, what kind of bone frame, what kind of eyes, what kind of nose, what kind of hair. You'll be able to get a designer baby. And if you talk to these people at these companies, and I have, the standard, they're looking for the standard in 10 to 15 years, that's probably more like 10 to 12 now, for it to be abnormal in a developed country for you to have a baby naturally that has not been genetically engineered in some way. That's the goal. That's the plan for our society. Now, if you say, no, I would never do that, let me ask you something. If you could make your child superhuman, would you not? Would you not give it the best chance of survival? Would you not give it the edge? Would you not want it to be the best wrestler or the best volleyball player? Would you not want them to be the best looking? Would you not want them to have the brains to outdo all of their peers? Would you not? Let us not forget Satan's quest to find perfected flesh here on this earth. When Christ returns to this earth, when the rapture takes place, when the dead in Christ have risen, we will be given back flesh, perfected flesh, flesh with no sin in it, flesh that's immortal, flesh that has what we would consider to be superhuman abilities and powers. We will be given the right to eat off of the tree of life that we saw back in the Garden of Eden. Satan is trying to eat off that tree of life right here on this earth in this sinful flesh. This is the pursuit to find what we will get perfected flesh, what Christ, our brother, has right now on him, perfected flesh. Satan is trying to give that to us here on this earth in our sinful flesh. God will not allow us to have immortality in this sinful flesh. This is why the flesh must die and be resurrected, so that when we eat off the tree of life, we are doing it without sin in our flesh. Eating off the tree of life gives us immortality. Let me turn your attention to Revelation chapter 13, verses 15 through 18. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Verse 18, this calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. Now let's continue in our questioning of ChatGPT about artificial intelligence. I say, is facial recognition one of artificial intelligence's breakthroughs? ChatGPT responded. It said yes, facial recognition is one of the breakthroughs of artificial intelligence, AI. Facial recognition is a type of AI technology that allows computers to identify and verify the identity of individuals based on their facial structures. Facial recognition technology has made significant progress in recent years, thanks to advances in machine learning, neural networks, AI, and computer vision. It is now widely used in a range of applications, including security and surveillance, law enforcement, and border control. Weird. It is also used in everyday applications such as unlocking smartphones and tagging friends and photos on social media. Facial recognition technology has many potential benefits, including improved security, more efficient identification processes, and enhanced user experiences. However, there are also concerns about the potential misuse of this technology, particularly with regards to privacy and civil liberties. There are also concerns about the accuracy and bias of facial recognition systems, particularly when it comes to recognizing individuals from certain racial or ethnic groups. A while back, facial recognition had a hard time with, say, African American or dark-skinned folks because of the light, the way it hits the face. It is way better now, and that really is not an issue today. As a result, there is an ongoing debate about the appropriate use and regulation of facial recognition technology. Many countries and organizations are now implementing guidelines and regulations to ensure that facial recognition technology is used in a responsible and ethical manner. Now, for those of you who don't know, China uses this daily. They use it to suppress and control their people. There is a whole over 1 million Uyghurs in China. These are Turkish Muslims in China who are basically slave labor. who are controlled daily by a series of cameras through facial recognition. China has the ability to look and to identify you even when you're wearing a mask. 2 years ago, when we were dealing with a certain virus that got loose from there, China developed the first artificial intelligence facial recognition scanner that could scan your face and identify you through a mask. So you could be wearing a mask and it would still identify you through your mask. I say to ChatGPT, interesting, is facial recognition used to control people today? It responded, it said, facial recognition technology is used in various ways today, including for security and surveillance purposes, which has raised concerns about potential misuse of the technology to control people. In some cases, governments and law enforcement agencies use facial recognition technology to identify and track individuals, which has led to concerns about privacy and civil liberties. In the United States of America, we now have what is called the Real ID Act. Look it up. All states are going to a uniform driver's license and state ID. This has your official federal picture on your new driver's license or state ID. This is the government's way of standardizing all driver's licenses and state IDs. They also take your official picture, which is also translated through facial recognition into the number of a man, into your digital identification number that is generated from your facial structures through facial recognition, just like they do in China. You're going to find that there are people who talk about facial recognition being illegal for the government to use in the United States. Although there is a law that puts some restrictions on the federal level usage of facial identification. It's not enough. And we are not, although we want to believe we are not the rulers of the whole world. And as we see, as the tribulation process happens in that final 7 years, we will come to a point that the structures of most governments in the world will shake. Many will tumble. And the Antichrist, when he rises to power, will not have a problem using facial recognition, biometrics, to control you. In some countries, facial recognition technology is used for social control and censorship purposes. For example, in China, facial recognition technology is used as part of a social credit system to monitor citizens' behavior and determine their access to various services and privileges. There are also reports of facial recognition technology being used to identify and track individuals at protests and other public gatherings. Imagine everyone on January 6th at the Capitol building being identified by a computer system that's simply sitting there taking everyone's pictures. We now see there are over 41,000 hours of video from that day, from the Capitol. If they put facial recognition on the job, and behind the scenes they may have, they will get the name of everyone who has a real ID in their wallet or purse. And if you've gotten a driver's license or a state ID in the last few years, you probably have a real ID. Matter of fact, if you check your driver's license or state ID, there is a star in the right-hand corner of it, which should, or somewhere on it, at least in Florida, I believe it's up in the right-hand corner, which signifies that it is real ID compliant. However, it is important to note that the use of facial recognition technology is regulated in many countries, and there are often laws and guidelines in place to ensure that the technology is used in a responsible and ethical manner. Many organizations, blah, 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 blah. It is also worth noting that facial recognition technology has many potential benefits, including improved security, more efficient identification processes, and enhanced user experiences. The key is to ensure that the technology is used in a responsible and ethical manner with appropriate safeguards in place to protect privacy and civil liberties. Let us not forget Edward Snowden and what the intelligence community in the United States of America was doing, probably still is doing, capturing all of our electronic data that they denied. but we now know is factual. NSA. I say to ChatGPT, what is the mark of the beast spoken of in the book of Revelation? It says, the mark of the beast is a term used in the book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament in the Christian Bible. According to the book, this mark is a symbol of allegiance to the Antichrist and is used to identify those who belong to him during end times. The exact nature of the mark is not specified in the book, but it is described as being placed on the right hand or forehead, your face, or your biometrics in your hand. The mark is said to be necessary for buying and selling, and those who refuse to take it are punished. I disagree with it there. The Bible is clear. You will be killed if you refuse to take the mark of the beast. The meaning and interpretation of the mark of the beast vary among different religious traditions and scholars. Some believe that the mark is a physical mark or symbol, while others believe that it is a spiritual symbol representing allegiance to evil or opposition to God. In modern times, the concept of the mark of the beast has been interpreted in various ways, including as a warning against the dangers of technology and government surveillance, as well as a symbol of religious or political oppression. However, it is important to note that the interpretation of the mark of the beast is a matter of religious belief and varies among different traditions and individuals. Remember, ChatGPT doesn't know that I'm a Christian. It's just giving me the answer it would give anyone. I then asked, could facial recognition be the mark of the beast? ChatGPT says, no. Facial recognition technology could not be the mark of the beast as described in the book of Revelation. The mark of the beast is a religious symbol described in the Christian Bible, whereas facial recognition technology is a modern technology used for identification and verification purposes. ChatGPT, although it is incredibly smart and it can hold a conversation with anyone about anything, there are times, like here, it's just wrong. It says, while there are concerns about the potential misuse of facial recognition technology and its impact on privacy and civil liberties, it is not a spiritual symbol representing allegiance to evil or opposition to God. It's not yet. Not yet, it's not ChatGPT, but it will be. It is a tool developed by humans that can be used for good or bad purposes, depending on how it is used and regulated. Interpretations of religious symbols and prophecies are a matter of faith and belief, and it is important to respect different religious traditions and perspectives, blah, 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 blah. Could facial recognition be used to keep people from being able to buy or sell? ChatGPT was pretty certain that facial recognition is not the mark of the beast. I am absolutely certain that facial recognition and biometrics, your palm print, are the mark of the beast. I say to it, could facial recognition be used to keep people from being able to buy and sell? It says, facial recognition technology could potentially be used to restrict access to certain goods and services, including the ability to buy or sell. Today, there are places where this is so. Today, in China, there are places there this is so. You cannot buy or sell without using your face, without using your biometrics. MasterCard has a technology that was developed in China that is facial recognition or palm print, biometrics. That is how you do business. So coming to America, they are bringing it here. Google that. I'm not kidding about this. MasterCard is bringing this technology to a cash register near you. So you will walk in to buy something and you will just smile, or you will put your hand on a scanner and boom, you're out the door. ChatGPT says, however, such use of technology would depend on various factors, including the legal and regulatory environment, as well as social and ethical considerations. In some countries, governments and corporations are already using facial recognition technology for various purposes, including security and surveillance, and for identifying individuals in public places. In theory, these uses could be extended to restrict access to certain goods or services based on an individual's facial recognition data. However, there are concerns about the potential misuse of facial recognition technology, particularly in terms of privacy and civil liberties. The use of technology to restrict access to basic goods and services, such as food or shelter, could be seen as a violation of basic human rights, and the Antichrist will not care. Furthermore, the use of facial recognition technology for such purposes would likely face legal and regulatory challenges, as well as social and ethical pushback from individuals and organizations concerned about its potential negative impacts. In many countries, there are laws and regulations in place to protect individuals' rights and to prevent discrimination, blah, 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 blah. I say to ChatGPT, you said facial recognition could not be the mark of the beast. But Scripture teaches if you don't receive it that you will not be able to buy or sell. You just told me facial recognition can do just that. ChatGPT, polite as it can be, says, I apologize for any confusion caused in my previous response. I should have been clearer in my answer. While facial recognition technology can be used to restrict access to certain goods and services, such as in a scenario where it is used to control access to the marketplace, it is not the mark of the beast as described in the book of Revelation. The mark of the beast is a spiritual symbol described in the Bible, whereas facial recognition technology is a modern technology developed by humans. The use of facial recognition technology to restrict access to goods and services raises important ethical and societal considerations. However, it is not a spiritual symbol representing allegiance to evil or opposition to God, as the mark of the beast is traditionally understood to be. I hope this clarifies my previous response. If you have any further questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask. If your children, your grandchildren, go to one of these chat AIs, Bing, ChatGPT, and they decide to start asking these questions, they're going to be misled. It is a situation in which their eternal security, their eternal destiny hangs in the balance. These are not things we should take lightly. AI is changing everything. You may not see it, you may have your head in the sand right now, but these changes are coming, and they are coming fast. Ray Kurzweil shows us in many different ways that technology is doubling every 6 months. We will reach a point where technology and neural networks and machine learning, basically, there will be nothing that we cannot learn. It will open the door to reveal all of the mysteries of the universe. All of matter, all of how the interactions of everything work. It will be a new God to this world, and Satan will be in the midst of it, using it, prophesying, showing the world that he is God. This is something that we need to be very careful about. This is something that we have to take seriously. We cannot be quiet about it. We can't change it. You hear me? We can't change it. The good that is going to come through AI, medical, etc., people want to be immortal here on this earth. Most people do not want to die and stand before God. So when given the opportunity to become immortal in this flesh body here on this earth, they are going to jump at it. They are going to run after it with everything they have. This is the holy grail of Satan, is to allow you to not have to worry about that pesky God. To do whatever you want to. Do what you want to do. Whatever's in your heart, fulfill your desires. You are the most important thing in this whole world. Your happiness is what this traveling through this world is all about. So here is immortality. Here is your ability to do everything on your bucket list. Here is your ability to watch your grandchildren's 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 grow as old as they want to get, and then live for eternity with you. Satan is a counterfeiter. He brings us things that look like what God promises, but is not God. He offered Jesus the entire kingdom here on this earth. He said, I will give you everything here. And Christ denied him. He said, no. No. The spiritual is where this is at, Satan. And I will not worship you. I don't want your earthly world. For those of you who don't know, Christ's return happens We cleanse the earth from sin. We live 1,000 years with Christ right here on this earth, reigning over this earth with him. Our eternity is in flesh bodies. It is in perfected flesh. It is eating food. It is doing things that we do now without sin in us. This universe was created, and we will get to go explore it with our dad, with God. And Satan wants to give you a cheapened version of that here on this earth. And it is going to happen through AI. It is going to happen through CRISPR and human genetic engineering. So, until next time, chins up, be the light. Don't just pretend like you are, but actually be it. Love your neighbor as yourself, and love God.